So now we're going to talk about the Patricia Hill Collins article called Defining Black Feminist Thought. So what's going on in this piece? Collins's main project is going to be to look at the experiences of women who lie outside of this focus on the white middle class feminists that feminists have infamously done. She's going to argue that these experiences provide a richer understanding of what's actually happening. So, first of all, what do we need to know about standpoint theory? Collins is going to talk a lot about Black women's standpoint as a tool for Black feminist thought. So, what's this basic idea of a standpoint? It's the sort of thought that the experiences of certain groups of people show the truth of what the mechanisms of oppressive forces are. Although I don't want to use these terms of like top and bottom to frame out the people who occupy certain positions, I think this is sort of the best way to visualize how people within the social hierarchy are relating and viewing each other. So just go with me on this one for just a minute. So what's going to happen in a standpoint theory is that those on the top, like the rulers or oppressors or what have you, don't have a really good view of the mechanisms of power or oppression. But those people who are oppressed, so the people who you could see as maybe being on the bottom of the totem pole or hierarchy, have a really good understanding of how these systems work. So we should look from the oppressed person's angle at how the system is bad or hurts the oppressed. Black women's standpoint then is going to be the idea that Black women's experiences or consciousness as a group offers us this view of how oppression works to hurt people. So what's special about Black women's standpoint, and why should we look at Black women as a group and not some other group for a standpoint? Collins is going to say that racial and gendered forms of oppression are interrelated, and this is a really rich site to look at for us feminists. Because Black women are both Black and female, their experiences are going to be more unique from, say, white women or Black men's experiences. I don't want you to think that Collins is doing some work that sort of excludes certain groups, because that would be doing something that is opposing these feminist projects that we're working on. So Collins is wanting to say then that, first of all, not all Black women automatically have a Black women's standpoint. So in this way, a standpoint is achieved and not really just a given. So the real point here is that you have to have a certain consciousness or understanding about how your everyday experiences are related to social structures. It's about how the larger system shapes the lives of people, specifically Black women. So she also wants to say that a Black woman's standpoint isn't exclusively for Black women either. So to utilize a Black woman's standpoint means that you're focusing on these sort of critical insights that a Black woman's standpoint shows into forms of oppression and how they operate. But Collins does say that this participation in the Black women's standpoint by people other than Black women, like white women, white men, or Black men, will often take the form of acting in coalition with Black feminist thought. So the important point here is that we can all learn from and utilize a Black woman's standpoint, but that utilization might look different depending on if you are, say, a white woman or a Black woman. So either way, these people need to achieve the consciousness required. So what should we take away from Collins? First, that Black women's standpoint is useful for feminists because we want to get rid of oppression. And it's going to do this by looking specifically at the relationship between hierarchies of gender, race, and sexuality. Also, we're looking at Black women's standpoint as a way to illuminate the mechanisms of oppressive forces. So it shows us how these oppressive forces work, specifically by looking at how the hierarchies affect Black women as a group. So now what you're going to do is you're going to read Collins from the Feminist Philosophy Reader, and you're going to complete the guided reading quiz questions for this reading. Remember that you can always go to the help forum if at any point you get really confused, and you can ask your fellow classmates and me for advice on some part of the Collins piece.